This is a special report from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast.
I'm Tony Bruschi. Thanks for joining us. Is BTK back? Not in terms of being on the loose, but in terms of the body count that are attached to his name. The notorious BTK serial killer who once terrorized Kansas is once again making headlines. Dennis Rader, the man infamously known for his chilling modus operandi to bind, torture, and kill, is now considered the prime suspect in at least 2 cold cases, as announced by authorities today. The spark that reignited interest in Rader's potential involvement in additional crimes was the renewed investigation into the 1976 disappearance of Cynthia Kinney in Oklahoma. This case, having been shelved and revisited intermittently over the decades, saw a resurgence of activity last December. With our proximity to Kansas and Wichita, Rader's known territory, it was only prudent to delve deeper into our cold cases, said Osage County, Oklahoma Undersheriff Gary Upton. The result was the unearthing of numerous unsolved homicides and missing persons cases that potentially have BTK's fingerprints all over them, he said. Further compounding the suspicion, another cold case being revisited is the tragic death of Shauna Beth Garber. 22-year-old remains were discovered in December of 1990 in McDonald County, Missouri. The circumstances of her death were hauntingly familiar. She'd been raped, strangled, and restrained with different bindings. Her body lying undiscovered for nearly 2 months was not identified until recently as 2021. Dennis Rader, while maintaining the facade of a city code inspector in Kansas, committed a series of gruesome murders, confessing to 10 killings in Wichita between 1974 and 1991. His sinister activities caught up with him in 2005, leading to his arrest. Later that year, Rader was handed 10 consecutive life sentences in prison. In an atmosphere of palpable anticipation, Upton shared limited information about a search conducted near Rader's former property in Park City, Kansas, described as items of interest. These findings will undergo meticulous examination to discern their connection to the cold cases. Collaborating with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, Upton aims to shed light on the dark corners of Rader's past. Phil Bostinian, the police chief of Wichita suburb Park City, mentioned the involvement of Public Works in the investigation, hinting at the removal of cement and excavation activities. There is no home, I'd like to note, on that property. It was torn down years after his arrest and is simply a vacant lot surrounded by other homes in that neighborhood. In a twist that adds depth to the narrative, Carrie Ross and Rader's daughter revealed her collaboration with investigations this summer. Rawson met with her father after years of no communication, suspecting that her father might have concealed items related to the unresolved cases on his property, notably under a metal shed he constructed. This shed, along with Rader's previous residence, has since been razed. Rawson additionally directed investigators to the location where the family dog was buried. With a mix of hope and trepidation, she expressed her wish to find conclusive answers. "I'm still not 100% sure my dad did commit anymore at this point," she remarked. However, in her words, if her father had indeed harmed others, we want answers. The renewed interest in Rader's possible involvement in additional crimes highlights the never-ending quest for justice with Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, with investigators leaving no stone unturned and with cooperation from unexpected quarters. The hope is to finally close the chapter on cases that have haunted these families for decades. We'll keep you up to date on the new cases involving BTK right here. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.
This has been a special report from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast. This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast
with Tony Bruschi.